Well, welcome back, my friends, to another rousing rendition of Choir Boys Outdoors, a Fox Knives Ryu rendition. If I said that wrong, well, what's different than any other day? I'm sure somebody will jump in there to correct me. It's from Fox Knives. It is spelled R-Y-U. It's actually considered based on a tactical Tonto style blade shape or a trailing point, which if you follow this channel at all, you know is my favorite blade shape. I absolutely adore it. Now here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. This is, and I want to be careful how I say it, but if I was going to stab somebody, it'd be with this knife. I ain't gonna lie. I don't want the manufacturer to get upset. I'm not telling you to do that at all. Look at that, man. That's just a gorgeous blade. And look at that handle. Got some badass micarta on there. But here's the deal. This isn't a camping knife. This isn't a bushcraft knife. This isn't a, hunting, fishing knife. You can do all of that. It's that good. This one was sent to me by Timbo437, and I am forever appreciative of that. But it's just a badass knife. This knife has a purpose. It is a fighting knife, a self-defense knife, whatever you want to call it. And I want to talk to you all about it. I want to kind of discuss with you why I feel the way I feel about it. Let me give you some specs real quick. This is the Fox Ryu, R-Y-U. It was designed by Black Rock Knives. The blade steel is Niolox. It has a heat treat or HRC of 59 to 61, so a little bit higher. Blade thickness is 5 millimeter. Blade length is 5.12. Overall length is 10.63. The handle is 5.5 inches right in there with an inner grip of 4.5 plus. Any hand in the world can grab this, grip this, whatever. Here's the deal, guys, and I'll just be honest with you. Say, Scab, why in the world would you say something like that? From the time I put my hands on this knife, I thought weapon. And again, I don't think that all the time. It's rare that I do. If you want the truth, I spend the vast majority of my time thinking of, talking about, using the knife as a tool. But when a knife like this comes along, we can't bullshit, right? First and foremost, I totally get it is a weapon. It's made for slashing, stabbing, cutting. The other stuff, if I needed a camp knife and this is what I had, it'd be perfect. If I needed food prep, perfect. I love a trailing point for those things. It can process game, it can process food, but here's the deal. This knife was designed for war. It just was. Now, I am not super familiar with Niolox steel. I know that it has a better corrosion resistance, which Lord knows I need here in the state of Florida, and it has better wear resistance than other steels. That's it, and I read that, and if I try to tell you anything else about it, it would be disingenuous and dishonest, and we're not doing that. What I did in this video is what I do in every video. I cut stuff up, a ton of stuff. That tells me a couple of things about the knife. I get a good balance point. I can tell you about the edge. I can tell you about edge retention a little bit. I can tell you about comfort in hand, right? I mean, we can't knife fight. We can't stab anybody. We say that all the time. So what's left to do? We'll cut stuff, right? What I can do is give you a good look at the knife. I can tell you about the construction of the knife. I think it is insanely well made. It's a vibe knife. It's 100% a vibe knife. It fits my hand perfectly. Dude, that micarta is just badass. Now, here's the deal. Every edge except the cutting edge on this knife is rounded and made for comfort. It has some jimping right where the handle meets the blade. It looks aggressive. It is not at all. It's firm. It's grippy. It'll hold you in place, but it is not in any way, shape, form, or fashion aggressive. Get a good look at the edge there. Now, guys, this is carpet foam we use to pad in between rails. All right, I figured it'd be a good way to cut it up, a good cutting medium knife at zero problem. Let me tell you something. This shit will dull out your knife in a hurry. And I mean in an absolute hurry. Couple of things. I'm going to end this video a little differently than I normally do. So I've got to watch my narration time. But the thing that impressed me about this knife was comfort in hand, ease of use, the sharpness. Now, Timbo put his edge on it. And again, man, huge shout out to Timbo 437. This is his edge. But it means he could get it this sharp. It held an edge throughout the duration of this demonstration. And again, I cannot speak to you enough about how comfortable that handle is. Now, the pommel comes to a point. So again, it screams weapon. The design was based on the Japanese Tanto sword or sword style from ancient times. And you can see that Eastern feel. Sometimes a trailing point gives me more of a Persian or Middle Eastern feel, but I can definitely see what they were going for. What that trailing point also does is makes this a slicey sumbitch, son. I adore this knife. And again, it just screams weapon. It comes with a Kydex sheath with a tech lock, so it rides higher on my hip. I'm built like the world's tallest dwarf, man. My torso's longer than my legs. I have short arms. So for me, that tech lock on a belt, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Now, guys, when it's somebody else's knife, we've discussed this, another YouTuber or somebody sends it in for me to check out, we don't go all out and go quite as hard as we do normally. Now, I will say this. Everybody knows what I'm going to do to a knife when you send it. We don't abuse knives. I don't believe in abusing knife. But we do try to push the limits. I want to give you a good look. And what I believe you've seen thus far throughout this demonstration is one hell of a sharp knife that has held its edge. The very last segment, I'm going to talk to you guys more about the grip and the comfort. But that handle, it might be one of my favorite handles of all time. What little exposure I have had to Niolox, maybe this one and maybe one or two more, I've been impressed with. But again, with that heat treat being up around 59 to 61, it rides a little bit higher. Not super high at all, but a little bit higher, more in that medium level, I would say. So it's got some good rigidity to it. I just enjoy the way the knife works. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I can't lie to you. This sumbitch is badass. Listen, before we get to that last segment, there was a time in this country where 22 vets a day took their own lives. Now, stats are everywhere. Between 15 and 29 is the actual number. That's why here on this channel, we focus on the number 0. Anything over 0 is simply unacceptable. Vets, we love you. You have a place here. Guys, you know I back the blue. I don't ask you to. I wouldn't blame you if you don't. It's just something I believe in and something I support. Finally, if you are an addict, never quitting. Well, let me just say this about Fox knives. If I've reviewed a couple, but this one by far, hands down, is my favorite. I love this knife. I could have stood out there all day long and cut shit. I'm not lying. It's just comfortable in hand. We're doing a couple palm strikes. And you know what's crazy, guys? Because I'll hear people, it needs a guard, it needs this. Personally, I prefer a good kind of choil, even if it's on the handle like this one is. The handle just contours it. It feels like when you grab it, that your hand's just sinking into it, man. I never worried about loss of grip. The control, being able to make cuts and slicing and things like that were next level. It's just badass. If you can't tell, I love the damn knife. There's a good look at the edge. Edge held up really, really well. Didn't go insane with it. Did a little beating on it, a little batoning. but nothing to write home about. And then anytime you're cutting extension cords, guys, you know, and I know people don't normally do, I don't need to be reminded of that. I know what the knives are used for and they're not. But these are the way that we do our demonstrations, and it works out pretty well. Is it the best? Well, it's for me. My little zip tie test here has just become kind of a part. Everything I did with this knife, because of the handle, felt like the knife was a part of me, if that makes sense. I mean, it's insane. And you see how the sharpness just continually sharp. Continually. Well, guys, I'm going to turn it over to myself. Y'all listen. All right, guys, I don't normally end the video like this, but here's the deal. I wanted to talk about this handle a little bit. And instead of cutting paper to end it, we'll cut this dirty-ass ratchet strap. Here's the deal, guys. This might be one of the most ergonomic, comfortable handles that I've ever messed with. Now, that's saying a lot with as many knives as we do. And the fact that it's held its edge this long is another thing. But really, I wanted to talk to you about the handle. If you look at it, the grooves, the contours, everything. Now, I haven't pulled a measurement as of yet. I might have given you the specs earlier in the video, but as point of this filming, I haven't. From here to here is that inner grip, okay? That's well over 4 inches, so most hands are going to be able to do it. But here's the deal. That just wraps and it contours. Now, all of this is well rounded. The other thing that I wanted to note about this knife is simply this. I don't know how protruding tang feels during the winter, because you see what it is here in Florida. The coldest we'll get is in the 20s sometimes. Okay, so I don't have to worry about that as much as you. But this canvas micarta here is insanely comfortable. So the deal is, it fits my hand perfectly. The micarta kind of hugs it, and you see the grooves in the micarta, and then the well-rounded spine there. And this is why I've said throughout this video, this isn't a hunting or camping or bushcraft knife. Everything's rounded. It has a specific task and purpose. I love the trailing point, but I wanted to show you the grooves and just talk to you a minute about it. This handle is supreme. I'm sure we've covered it quite a bit in the narration, but I wanted to give you some looks. It's also easy to manipulate, and just a great overall knife. Again, Timbo, thank you for letting me try this out, man. I absolutely adore it. Big shout out to Timbo437. And here, the jimping, I've said, isn't aggressive. It's not. It's comfortable. I don't really need a guard. I'm not going to knife fight or stab. It's a great knife to me if you wanted to go on the offensive or you needed to defend yourself. As long as I've got this little finger guard and these grooves, I can get enough grip that I'm okay. Well, guys, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I love y'all. God bless y'all. I'm Scab. You're not. And I'm gone, son.